Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Duta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Bharan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitangscha Om Jnanatim Randasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nindantam Pulakot Korena Vikasam. This is really the sloka. Nindandam Pulakot Korena Vikasam Nipa Prasunachtrivim Prodikritvat Bujadvayam Hari Hari Eat Uchai Vedantam Muhu Nrittantam Drutamasru Nirjara Chaye Sinchantam Urvitalam Gayantam Nija Parasadai Parivritam Sri Gaura Chandram Nama Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hemava Divyachchavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So today is we're celebrating the Jagannath Ratha-yatra, which one of the first sentences I ever heard come out of the lotus mouth of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada from the chariot of Subhadra, this festival being under his auspices, performed in San Francisco in the Golden Gate Park, and Prabhupada sat there and began a song by saying, Jagannatha Shami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume, from this famous song. And we're thinking about that. What does that mean? Come before my eyes, reveal yourself. It implies that it is a song of separation. Right? And Srila Gurudev, he has said, when we want to understand who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, said, ask yourself, what is his tasting matter? Right? So as Rasa-raj Krishna, he knows everything about the joys of union. Right? He's Rasa-raj, ecstasy personified. He is nourishing everyone. Krishna means attracting to the center, the central conception of the infinite, the human-like. Krishna Rajateka Kela Sarvatam Naralil Narvaputara Swarup Gopa Vesh Venukar Navakishore Narabar Naralilohoy Anurup. Interesting. As I was saying, this is the form that's most suitable for the sweetest, highest, most divine pastimes of Krishna. And we find, in this case, the Radharani and braja-gopis, in a sense, dismissing the other form. Like, how beautiful is Dwaraka Krishna? Right? Inconceivably beautiful. We're told sometimes Krishna, seeing his own reflection, is saying like, oh, who is so beautiful? And suddenly my heart is palpitating with the sentiments of Radharani looking at this beautiful, oh, it's me, But the Dwaraka Krishna is not, cannot satisfy the hearts of Srimati Radharani and her group. So it's interesting that a couple days ago we had the solar eclipse, and because the original Kurukshetra Ratha-yatra pastime, if you so to speak, was on account of there being a solar eclipse. So without going into the details of that, generally taken to be something that is inauspicious for material activities. So devotees emphasize more spiritual activities during that time. But So on the plea of this inauspicious event is coming, so Krishna and the queens of Dwaraka and Radharani and braja-gopis, Nanda Yashoda, they all go to Kurukshetra, which is a famous holy place, and there they're going to do some very spiritual activities, and then this inauspiciousness will not touch them. That's the plea. It's like an arrangement by Yoga Maya, sometimes bringing them together, sometimes separating them, and then bringing them together again. So, I mentioned this earlier today, that when Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Saraswati Thakur, they did their Ratha-yatra, because yatra means journey, can also mean like pilgrimage, they're going to many holy places. Saraswati Thakur told his disciples, the Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, we all know that Vrindavan is for the shallow, hollow people. A man of real bhajan will prefer Kurukshetra. And Guru Maharaj said, when Saraswati Thakur told this, then he heard it, he said, it was as if I fell out of the top of a tree. All this time we're being told, Vrindavan's the highest place, it's the land of Krishna, only the highest section of liberated souls will be given entrance there. It's the ultimate aspiration of all the, Radhika, Madhavasam. And now our Guru Maharaj is telling us, it's for hollow, shallow people. He said, what is this? And lest we repeat these things, what would be the word? Casually or without thought. We have to understand the context of what he's saying. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what he means is to say, Vrindavan, that's known as the land of Milan or union, right? But he's saying Kurukshetra is for the man of real bhajan. Then the first thing we'll think, oh, Kurukshetra, that's where Krishna spoke to the Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna, so he must mean that? No. That's true, but that's not why he's saying Kurukshetra. He's referring to this pastime, where Radharani and braja-gopis come from Vrindavan, and Krishna and the queens of Dwaraka come, and they meet there. And Guru Maharaj discerned, extracted this spiritual principle from this, as he does. It's not only qualified to hear and reproduce, but to extract the essence of what is to be understood from any particular pastime, spiritual concept, etc. That's right. Paramahansa Thakur, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. So Guru Maharaj said, service, according to the intensity of its necessity, draws remuneration. Like this comes from Guru Maharaj. We can memorize it or say it, but understand, this is an original aphorism, maxim, that comes from Srila Guru Maharaj, and a lifetime of diving deep into reality and extracting Siddhantic gems from that plane. Right? Service, according to the intensity of its necessity, draws remuneration. Who can say that? But Guru Maharaj, he hears all of this, and this is the outcome. This is what is expressed from the heart of Srila Guru Maharaj. And what he means is that we're to give some context. The braja-gopis, we hear in the Gopi-Gita, like we'll hear in the pastimes that at the sort of the break in the Balagandhi, after all the singing and dancing, that's where Mahaprabhu in exhaustion enters the garden and Prataparudra Maharaj enters there. And it was indicated earlier, perhaps of Jagadananda Pandit, who said, when they're all discussing, will he get darshan? And it's interesting that Mahaprabhu, who, remember, Anta Krishna Bahir Goram Darshitang Garibhaibavam, internally is Krishna, and he's saying, well, it's, if the devotees wish it, then certainly Krishna will be merciful to him. That he says that is sort of charming, considering that he is Krishna. He's saying, but if he gets the grace of all of you, and that's what you, then it must happen, because you're the devotees of Krishna, and what the devotees want happens. It trumps the will of Krishna in this case, in many cases. Gurudev said that in Koi Kali, on the day of the installation of Radharaman Sundar's you. Remember him saying that. The will of the Vaishnavas was supreme, even over Krishna. And so it's mentioned there, he is Parama Svatantra, means he is supremely independent. Reality is for itself and by itself. Right? But what is the nature? Does that mean he's cold, insensitive, indifferent? No, that reality is for itself. He is full of love and affection and distributing love and affection. And so he says, and Jagannath says, well, you are, your default position is Parama Svatantra. You do as you wish, no one can influence you. You're completely the supreme, independent, supreme personality of Godhead, is Krishna. Because Mahaprabhu doesn't like to be referred to as the supreme reality, because he's in the mood of a devotee. He's like, and he's saying, but Krishna is that way. And that Mahaprabhu can agree. Yes, Krishna is like that, isn't he? Right? He said, but that Krishna, who's supremely independent, it is said that he is prema paratantra. He's parama svatantra, but prema paratantra. He's dependent upon the love of his devotees. And therein lies the sweetness of Krishna consciousness. And the supreme reality, the supreme personality of Godhead. That his heart melts with love and affection in the presence of his devotees, and he comes under their control. Ahang bhakta paradino hyasvan tantra. There it is again. Ivadvita sadhu bir bhakta hrideo bhaktar bhakta janapriya. He revealed this, 9th canto, Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. And although I'm totally independent, but in the presence of devotion, in the presence of a devotee, a devotional heart, he said, it's as if I lose my independence. I just come under the control of those devotees. So Mahaprabhu saying that Pratap Maharaj has some hope because he's got the affection of all of you, and as we see to this day, his descendant takes the golden handled broom and sweeps. And when Mahaprabhu saw that, his heart was melting, and he was remembering that Ramananda said, what a great, if I had a drop of devotion like Pratap Maharaj and Sarvabhauma and all these, they're all certifying him, giving him certificate. And Mahaprabhu, when he saw that he's sweeping, taking the lowest position, and how is that consistent in our line? The real devotion is shown where the greatest magnitude and eagerness for the least seva, not volunteering to do the big things, but for the least thing, the greatest magnitude of eagerness, as in Lalita Saki, Rupa Goswami describes in her prayer. Radha Mukunda Parasambhava Garvabindu Nirmanchano Pukarani Kritadeha Laksham. So that, and what will Pratap Maharaj do in that garden? But sing the Gopi-Gita, of which one of the verses, Atiyad Bhavan Anikananam Tutir Yugayate Tvamapashatam Kutilakuntalam Srimukam Jate Yada Dikshatam Pakshmakridrisham. Yada Dikshatam Pakshmakrid. Pakshmakrid means eyelids. So the braja-gopis, they're cursing Brahma for making eyes that have eyelids that blink. And they're saying, if he really knew what he was doing, remember, these are teenage girls who are normally well-behaved. Now they're thinking how stupid the creator of the universe is. Because he didn't know how to make eyelid. What's wrong with him? He doesn't know how to make eyelid. The blinking thing. Why? They should just always be open, because then and as we hear, Mahaprabhu and his devotees at the Netrotsav, just the day before, they get this Jagannath darshan, where it means his makeup has been, his eyes have been made to look more beautiful, the Navakalever, all of this. And it says, Mahaprabhu and his devotees, it says Jagannath's face is a lotus flower, and their eyes are bumblebees drinking the nectar of his beauty incessantly. And incidentally, it mentioned that his neck looks like blue sapphires, deep, beautiful blue sapphire, and this lotus face, and they're just drinking the nectar of his face, like bumblebees taking nectar from a lotus flower, the lotus eyes of Jagannath. So these braja-gopis, why are they saying that? Saying because when we are looking at Krishna, then the eyes blink. Intolerable. And we're told that, and this is taking us in the direction of the power, the beauty, the triumph, as it were, of separation. That the rasa-lila, we're told, lasts for a Brahma-ratri. I mean, like there's a day of Brahma, a night of Brahma. It means 4,300,000,000 years. Right? And what do they say? Like we were talking about thirst recently. Their thirst is never quenched. Like Mahaprabhu, they're looking with it just makes them more thirsty for Krishna, Sudha, nectar. So we're told that when Krishna gives the indication to Yogamaya for the rasa-lila to take place, she summons 4,300,000,000 nights to become one. So the duration of that divine dance is a Brahmaratri. And what are we told at the end? The braja-gopis say, it was like the blink of an eye. Right? That much time. Right? So that's in union. Right? That 4,300,000,000 years, they seem like the blink of an eye. They're left in a hankering position for more. Right? Then we think, well, what could exceed that? Then we find in separation, now it's going in another direction. And they're saying the blink of an eye, that one was compared to that, the blink of an eye of separation from Krishna is like 4,300,000,000 years. It's an intolerable length of time for them. Is that even possible? That's incredible, inconceivable. So then, we're told when when a tree becomes them in Krishna, they lose their minds. When they're going through the forest, if a tree blocks their view of Krishna, they lose their minds. This is intensity, right? And described there. So we think that's just inconceivable. We're talking about the inconceivable world, right? Which is only conceivable according to divine revelation. So those braja-gopis who cannot tolerate the blink of an eye, the word of separation, they have not seen Krishna for 100 years. That's when they meet in Kurukshetra. So the intensity is being ratcheted up to its zenith point. So in other words, separation could not be greater. And then here's this opportunity for union. And just as a sidebar, we find in the Garga Samhita that the queens of Dwaraka, who we know are inconceivably beautiful, Rukmini, Satyabhama, Lakshmana, the others, right? But they hear sometimes from Rohini about Vrindavan pastimes. According to Sanatana Goswami, she has a place in Vrindavan and Dwaraka. So the Dwaraka queens, and they hear about Krishna's girlfriends from when he was a teenager, Kishore. and they're thinking, I mean, how beautiful could they be, And repeatedly they hear about Sri Radhika. And they know how beautiful they are. Rukmini, Satyabhama, they're saying like, how beautiful could she be? And on this point, that cannot be discussed. When Saraswati Thakur was pressed on this point, Gurumar said like, some man was singing the glories of the beauty of Lakshmi Devi, and Saraswati Thakur would had this deep internal conflict, but he wouldn't say. And he fainted and fell out of his chair onto the floor, but he wouldn't respond. So I won't either, but by illusion, in a direction to give a hint. So when they meet in Kurukshetra, we're told in Garga Samhita, Radharani is brought in on a palanquin by the braja-gopis. And that these inconceivably beautiful queens of Dwaraka have their first glimpse of her. And we're told, what is their response to personally experiencing her beauty? They all faint. That's how inconceivably beautiful she is. She makes the queens of Dwaraka faint. So now, after 100 years separation, she's coming, they've come, and Guru Maharaj gave this example that when you get so close to your goal and then experience disappointment, because they see not Gopa-Vesh, dressed as a cowherd boy playing the flute, he's not on the banks of the, as opposed to Vrindaranya, which they say is a Pushpa Aranya, a forest of lotus flowers, beautiful flowers. They say, this is Alokaranya you've come with, a people forest, a forest of people. And all this royal paraphernalia, and they're starting to, they cannot conceal their disappointment. And Guru Maharaj gave this example. He said like in football, and for the Americans in the group, soccer. And we've heard at our East London Mott, that West Ham team used to play there in a stadium right outside. The Gurudev could hear outside the window, and 100,000 people in the stadium. And if they going back and forth at midfield, not so much. But if someone's getting ready to score and they just missed the goal, you hear 100,000 people go, oh, like groan in unison because they got so close and they missed. That is Guru Maharaj's example. How does he know these things? Right? So but what he's saying is, so imagine the braja-gopis and runner, there's Krishna, the goal, 100 years separation, and dressed like a king, no flute to be found. What kind of Krishna is this? Right? And they're like, oh, we got so close. So, but I'm not here to speak against Dwaraka Krishna. But his position could be misunderstood. And Radharani wants to know, what is the problem? Why is this? How is this situation come about? And she's saying, and at one point she's chastising Krishna, and she won't mention herself. Her method is to say, don't you miss your mother and father? You're trying to kill them? Do you know what's going on in Vrindavan right now in separation from you? Cows are dying, the parents. There's descriptions of this in the Bhagavatam too, that from Chakrabarti Thakur, that they run parallel. So when Uddhava visits, they're showing their good side, but actually they're in a horrible internal condition and separation from Krishna. So she's mentioning everyone else, Nanda and Yashoda and the cowherd boys and the cows and your favorite places. Don't you think of them? But us. And then Krishna has to reveal, and it's really very sweet. Radharani also expresses some indignation. He says, Ahushjate nalina naba padaravindam yogeshware hridi vichantam agara bodhe Sansara kupa patito taranavalamvam geham jisham api manasi udiyat sadhana. He's saying, and after all, you know who we are and what are our hearts, and then you send this letter, this message with Uddhava, telling us that we should practice yoga and learn to meditate. God is everywhere. This is ridiculous. And don't you know who we are? And you're telling us that, God is everywhere. Imagine Krishna saying, God is everywhere. Learn to meditate. You can meditate, you can practice the yoga system and meditate on God, on the God. And she's saying, that just made us angry. We are gopis, we're not yogis, we're not karmis, we're not gyanis. You know who we are and what we want. Right? So these insulting messages, and so she's upset, right? And calling Krishna for explanation. And then Krishna says, he basically says, like, I'm crying all the time in separation from you, day and night. I had to do some service for the Yadus, kill some demons, there's a few more left. You don't understand. You're everything to me. And he said, and then he reveals it, and he said, then actually, and he says, Narayan Sevi, but like, he said, by the mercy of Narayan, and this is something mystical to understand, he goes, I come to Vrindavan, I'm with you all the time. And so you'd say, it sounds like, if you read it, that Narayan, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, my extension is there, and I am with you in Vrindavan. Because elsewhere it is said, Krishna never steps a foot outside of Vrindavan. Why? We'll hear in Ratha-yatra, Anyara hridayaman moraman Vrindavan. For others, their mind and heart are the same. My heart and Vrindavan are identical. So Krishna can never be removed from there, actually. It's a play to increase put pressure, the maximum amount of pressure upon love and affection in the heart, so it will yield the most highest quality and highest quantity of Krishna Prem, which is really what this festival is about. This festival is a celebration of the Krishna Prem in the heart of Srimati Radharani. Mahaprabhu's life is a celebration of that. Right? Krishna consciousness movement is an extension of that. Right? Of the sort of Krishna Prem that is in the heart of Srimati Radharani. Right? So when Krishna is revealing the truth to Radharani, she knows, but she wants to hear from him. And he says, Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amritatdaya kalpate. And by the way, the reason I'm saying these things is because we heard them from Srila Guru Maharaj, but it's also what Mahaprabhu is, this is what he's doing in front of Jagannath. These very verses I'm saying. And Swarup Damodar at his side, and we're told not everyone knows, Swarup Damodar always knows. We're told he's a bhav-anurup of Mahaprabhu. Means his heart is identical to Mahaprabhu's heart. Who is Swarup Damodar? Lalita Saki. But so these are the things that are going, that Mahaprabhu is expressing while he's dancing before Jagannath. Right? And we're told sometimes 3 types of dancing. Udanda Nritya, Madhura Nritya, and Tandava Nritya. So Udanda means like a danda, jumping, leaping up very high and coming back down again. And sometimes spinning. And we're told, remember, Mahaprabhu is golden on account of being in enveloped by the heart of Srimati Radharani, has this golden radiance. When he starts spinning, it looks like a firebrand. If you spin fire really quick, and then it turns into this circle of fire, but like golden fire, inconceivable. And while he's got different ecstatic symptoms are appearing on his body, like hair standing on end, tears shooting out of his eyes, as if from a syringe, drenching all the other devotees around him who are dancing. That when he falls to the ground, like a golden mountain, like covered in dust, so like you could think like the muted, matted, golden, temporarily, but he looks even more beautiful every way. And at one point when he's on the ground, because Nityananda spun off in his divine ecstasy, Advaita and the others, Pratap Maharaj picks him up. This is before he gets to sing Gopi-Gita in the garden. And when Mahaprabhu momentarily comes out of his ecstasy, he says, "Oh, look what's happened to me. I've been embraced by a Bishayi." And Pratap Maharaj is crushed. We were talking before about cliffhangers and Krishna. Like, he's got all this hope, and this always happens to them. They get all this hope. It looks like they're finally going to get what their heart has been hankering for maybe millions of lifetimes. And then right at the last moment, it's all spoiled. Krishna sends the braja-gopis back. Here, suddenly, Pratap, he's just trying to save Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu sees that he's in the arms of a king and like, who knows what hell awaits me? I've been embraced by a sense enjoyer. And then Pratap is like, oh no. Like the opposite, and Sarvabhauma was promising, and the others were promising, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, he's just doing that to set an example for everybody else. We can just stay calm. He said, help me. He said he doesn't want the others to be misled, so he has to, when he saw you with the broom, so, yeah. So, why was I saying? What he's saying before. So, and then another type of dancing, the Madhura Nritya. That means where he's like swaying and dancing very sweetly, and it's told to be Radharani saying, "Oh, you forgot us?" And he'll go to the back of the chariot. Then Jagannath stops the chariot to indicate, no, I've not forgotten. Then he will sweetly dance to the front and sing more songs and prayers. And lastly, the Tandava Nritya means like the dance, mad dance of Shiva, an intense, ecstatic state. So Krishna tells Radharani, with those about the gyan he's saying, it wasn't funny what I wrote to those but those karmis, gyanis, yogis, they all want me. And if they get me, there's a way of approaching through karma, yoga, not Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, but if they come in connection with me, they feel they've got everything. Right? I said, but what about me? What do they have to offer to me? Nothing. He's saying, but I consider it my good fortune that I am the object of the love and affection that's in your pure hearts. There's nothing that compares to that. Like, no pareham nirvajasam, Krishna telling them. And Guru Maharaj said, this is the origin really of let virtue be its own reward. Krishna saying, I couldn't repay you. What you have in your hearts, this Krishna consciousness, this Krishna prema, it's so wonderful, so pure, so beautiful. I can't reciprocate it. That's my position. By even giving myself to you wholly, that's not equal to what you have. And herein lies this prospect for him to descend, this Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and tell everyone how great the love of Radharani and braja-gopis are. He's experiencing it personally. Jadi gaur no hoite tabiki hoite, kamare taritam dehe, radhar mahima prema rasasyam jagata janata ke. Why he descends, right, as Mahaprabhu, to celebrate the love and the heart of Srimati Radharani. And I just want to say this, because I want to read something from Guru Maharaj on this subject, because it connects to what is the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, of which this day is the birthday, really, of Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, and the significant, Kalachan Prabhu, again, put the flag, we had the changing of the flag, the last year's flag did its seva, and has gone into the upper world, and now a new flag has appeared for us all to recommit, and I read something Guru Maharaj said about that, but so I wanted to conclude by saying, and then Madhusudan is going to read from Charitamritam, that, so back to what Gurudev said, what is his tasting matter? So as Mahaprabhu, Krishna's descended to taste separation. That's what totally captured him. And observing the behavior of Srimati Radharani when she's separated from him. It already was astonishing to him, their loving interaction, but when he hid himself from her and saw what her heart expresses in separation, that convinced him that he wanted to have that experience himself and to descend to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and experience that in the company primarily of Ramananda and Swarup Damodar. And for the most part, behind closed doors in the Gangbira. But what is astonishing is that what we're saying, these things being expressed in a sense publicly. And at the Ratha-yatra, we see how many people normally come, 1 million. Right? So it's going on, but what we're told by Kaviraj Goswami, not everyone can understand. So we'll hear on some level people are saying, the festival of chariots. It is, the juggernaut. We would sometimes hear that Marx, or one of them said that, religion's the opiate of the people, but another time said, it's like Saraswati puts words in the mouth, you mean to say something opposite and you say something supremely glorifying. He said, if you want to understand the ultimate expression of religion, it's in Jagannath Puri. And what he meant was like, they put this idol on a chariot and carry him, But he said, if you want to see the ultimate expression of religion, it's in Jagannath Puri at the Jagannath Ratha-yatra. Hare Krishna, here, Hare Krishna. He was right. So, that's why he descended. But why Jagannath? And as Jagannath appears, so we're told in Dwaraka that, remember, Rohini, she's telling those queens about Radharani and braja-gopis in Vrindavan. And Krishna can hear from his bedroom. And we're told one day he's hearing all these things, he's in bed, he can't get out of bed, he's feeling so homesick and heartsick for Srimati Radharani and the braja-gopis. And Rohini's madly telling them all these wonderful pastimes. And then he starts experiencing ecstatic separation symptoms. Right? That his eyes become very large, his arms, they enter into his body, his form is changing, and he takes the form of Jagannath. And as Guru Maharaj said, what is that called? About when there's velocity and force and has momentum, but there's, no, there's I forget. No, but Keep guessing. It's like, there's another word for when you have velocity going in a particular direction, and then there's a force pulling upon it. What happens is resistance, right? But there's another word for this phenomenon. But anyway, resistance is the word. So think of it this way: at the speed of infinite, because he's infinite, everything he does is infinite. The pastimes are moving in the direction of Dwaraka, right? Dwaraka Krishna. But the heart pull of Radharani, Vrindavan, upon him, that's pulling him in another direction. So he's going, the momentum of going this way, but the gravitational pull in the other direction is causing this ecstatic transformation. That's what I mean to say. So he assumes the form of Jagannath. So that's why these pastimes take place in Jagannath Puri, and technically not Kurukshetra. So Jagannath, in this context, is Dwaraka Krishna. And Mahaprabhu as Radharani, and really assembled with all those gopis from Krishna Lila, Lalita Vishaka, Rupa, they're all there, but in their Gaur Lila forms. And what are they doing? They're taking Dwaraka Krishna, he's stunned and unmoving. The pull on his heart of Vrindavan is so great. He's in an ecstatic, stunned position. So they're putting him on a chair and taking him back to Vrindavan, as it were. And Mahaprabhu, in the position of Srimati Radharani, and we're told Jagannath himself is astonished to see the dancing and the heartfelt expressions of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And so, on this note, I just wanted to read something I compiled a couple years back, an excerpt from it, how it's related to Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. Right? Because remember, when I was leaving there, Guru Maharaj, he would always call me to his room. He'd take Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's garland, put the garland on me, and hug me. I can hardly believe that now, but like it's some kind of a divine dream. But he would do it, and then he would say some words, and he said like, "Oh, today our Goswami Maharaj, he's going to a remote corner of the world." And I was saying like, "I'm going to San Francisco, to California." And Guru Maharaj turned to me and he said, "This is your home, Navadviptam." And he said, "And for some time you have to go to some remote corner of the world and to preach the glories of Mahaprabhu in this line." And I think, that's so sweet and beautiful. What am I thinking? I'm thinking I'm in a remote corner of the world. He's saying, no, this is the center. This is the absolute center. This is your home. And for some time in service to this plane, you have to go, and then you'll return, with Srila Govinda Maharaj at his side, smiling. So then the question comes, what is Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat? And I think the person who can best answer that question is Srila Guru Maharaj. And what was the meaning of the flag? Because like they say, Festival of Chariots, then we find out all these things going on. Dive deep into reality, beyond what you see visually, the heart of Srimati Radharani playing upon Krishna, and Mahaprabhu as the medium, Bhav Murti. So flag, but what does the flag represent? So just here, it's a section, not the whole thing. This is Guru Maharaj speaking. So I say, Srila Sridhar Maharaj describes his vision of the mat he founded, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, encapsulating the conceptual architecture in its pranam mantra. Srimat Chaitanya Saraswata Matabara Udgita Kirtir Jayasrim Bibrat Sambhati Ganga Tata Nikata Navadvipo Koladri Raje Yatra Sri Gaura Saraswata Mata Nirata Gora Gata Grananti Nityam Rupanuga Sri Kritimati Guru Gauranga Radha Jitasa. So beautiful, so perfect. And then this is Guru Maharaj speaking, translating his own. And he says, the flag of Chaitanya Saraswat Mat flutters high, high, high in the over sky. Guru Maharaj, when he speaks English, like poetry. And by over sky, he means outer space. That's what he's saying. So Guru Maharaj, how high does it go? It goes into outer space, right? Other worlds. He says, whoops, in Navadvip, on the banks of the Ganga. Then he goes, he's saying, how did he come to this name? Chaitanya, borrowed from Chaitanya Mat, and Saraswata from Saraswati, or Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Then he says, Chaitanya Saraswata, the knowledge that has come from Chaitanya Dev up to Saraswati, our Guru Maharaj. Propaganda within that era, that time, we are to revere, accept, and preach. The angle of vision of our Guru Maharaj, Saraswati, about Sri Chaitanya Dev. How Srila Saraswati Thakur has seen with his divine eyes. It is available here. We are concerned with that. From Chaitanya to Saraswati, our Guru Maharaj. The Guru Parampara, the whole is covered, considered, cultured, and being preached or spread. This is Chaitanya Saraswat. Hare Krishna. And he says, Chaitanya Nuga Saraswati. Another meaning, Saraswati means Vani, Vakya, words, expressions of Chaitanya. Chaitanya Vani, the real preaching, instructions of Sri Chaitanya Dev, his words. That may be the meaning here. Chaitanya Vani, really from Chaitanya to Saraswati. The culture of Bhagavatam as viewed by Sri Chaitanya Dev and his followers up to Saraswati. That is the object, the theme of our life, the purpose of our life. Our parichoy, our identification, nature, acquaintance is there. Who are we? We are so-and-so. They are our masters. We are servants of that group. We want to revere them, to propagate them, to ask people to accept them. Our whole concern is there. Chaitanya Saraswata, Saraswata Chaitanya, Gaur Haribol, Gaur Haribol, Gaur Haribol. What distinguishes Chaitanya Saraswat? How it is modified by Chaitanya Dev, the line of the Bhagavatam, what he has spread. Amongst all the acharyas, Sri Chaitanya Dev preached about love divine, clearly, and in a developed way, in a scientific way. Only Sri Chaitanya Dev preached the fifth end of life, Bhagwat Prem. That end of life is to acquire love, affection, attraction for God or Godhead, for Krishna. Krishna is the Lord of love, and he is the innermost conception of Godhead. The highest conception of Godhead is Krishna, and Jiva can have relation with him, that of love. And that is the highest achievement of all souls ever known come to the world. So Chaitanya Saraswata, not other Saraswata, Chaitanya Nuga Saraswata, followers that belong to the school of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Dev, who believes in the consciousness of Krishna, the believers of Krishna consciousness, the flag fluttering high over the sky means to have control over the whole globe. So it flutters high to control. Udgita kirtir jayasrim bibrat, singing the glory of its capturing the whole world by Sri Chaitanya thought. And what is that? Rupanuga Sri. Their object is to enter into the loving service, which is directed by Sri Rupa and the camp of Sri Radharani, Radhadasyam. That is the wealth of their heart. That is their aim. And they are following the method of Sri Chaitanya. And their flag is flying over high in the sky on the banks of the Ganga and Govardhan. This is what is shown in this sloka. When I was establishing this mat, there was only a thatched cottage, and I myself was cleansing the clay and dirt with my own hand. At that time this was composed, came through me. I had some inner thought that Mahaprabhu was accepting my service from such a lower level, cleansing the clay and earth, all these things. But there is some future grant. It portends some future resourcefulness. This place will be of high order. He is accepting service from my own hand. That was my feeling at the time. I composed that. Somehow it came. And one very tall bamboo was put there, its flag fluttering above. That gave some inspiration to me. Udgita kirtir, its glory is sung high in the sky. Jayasrim bibrat, and is holding the victorious color with it. Jayasrim bibrat, the victorious resourcefulness is floated by this fluttering of the flag, which is so high, posted in the over sky, outer space, on the banks of the Ganges and Navadvip, that it may have such potentiality. And I mentioned, Urjeshwari is the name of Radharani, Jaisri. Urja means resources. She commands all the resources, the Shakti, the power, all the resources culminate in her. Ganga Tata Nikata Navadvipa Koladri Raje. The location of this place is Govardhan. Koladvip, Koladri Raje, king of mountains, Kola, Koladri, mountain on the banks of the Ganga. It is glittering there. And what is the function there? Yatra Sri Gaura Saraswata Mata Nirata. Who are really followers. Gaura Saraswati, from Sri Gauranga to Saraswati has come that flow. They have got faith in that. Gaura Gata Grananti, singing the glories of Sri Gauranga to the world. Those that are devoted in the cultivation of the grace of Gauranga. Gaura Saraswata, from Gauranga that came through, interpreted by Saraswati, our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaura Saraswata, who engages himself fully in that opinion, that idea and thought. Matta Nirata Gauragata Grananti, and that quality, glorification of Sri Gauranga, that flow of Gauragata they are singing here. And what is their object? Their aim of life? Srimad Rupanuga Sri Kritimati, Rupanuga Bhajan, Madhura Rasa, Radha Anugata, Krishna Bhajan. That is their aim. With that intention, they are singing the Sankirtan of Sri Gauranga, and their aim is there. Nityam Rupanuga Sri Kritimati Guru Gauranga Radha Jitasha. Their only hope is that one day they will be able to reach the destination. They will be able to serve Sri Radha and her beloved. That is the aim. And Gaur Sankirtan. Their object is to attain the highest position in the Rupanuga service, in the camp of Radharani. Their mentality is there and their activity is here. In a very dignified way, the flag is fluttering there, high up in the sky, from the Ganga on the summit of Govardhan Giriraj. And I was then only in a cottage. I wrote this in 1943 or so, and now it is 1983. 40 years ago, that came through my pen. And then, so, to all of the devotees there and all of us here, he's saying, so, your aim at present, this will be, that this will be here, And you will try to distribute this, Gauravani, from here to the world. Now, this is your home, you're going now. So what is here, as described by Srila Guru Maharaj, he's saying, now you take this and distribute this to the world. That is divine arrangement. I keep it on my head. Activity under the guidance of Sri Gauranga, and our object is the camp of Radharani. Radha Govinda's service, guided by Sri Rupa Goswami, the line of Sri Rupa. Who are we? From Chaitanya Dev to Saraswati Goswami. That flow of instruction is our base, and our stay is in Govardhan and the Aparad Bhanjaner pot. That was the idea. It came from the inner compartment of my heart, this verse that Guru Maharaj, it came from the inner compartment of my heart, and I produced it in that way. My hope, some mystic hope, or ambition, whatever you may say, that mystic something made me write this. Who made me write this? And who supplied this thought? In Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his prophecy, he will guide you. It may not come by the lips, it may not come by the lips to the ear, but heart transaction. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye, transmission from heart to Brahma. Krishna gave the first knowledge to Brahma, the creator, through the heart. Brahma Veda was given to Brahma, creator of the world. Through heart, inspiration, not coming from the lip to the ear. Bhagavatam says, this transmission, this transaction, this flow of heart to heart, otherwise the ear cannot catch, the lips cannot produce. So Guru Maharaj said, this came from the innermost compartment of his heart. And that's the meaning, the flag of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat and Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, the reading.
The reading?
Of the Ratha-yatra.
Oh, Maharaj.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. We were absorbed in mind. So wonderful to hear.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, yesterday Maharaj said, oh, tomorrow, please join me. We're going to have an informal, family, happy program for Ratha-yatra. And no cameras, anything, just with the devotees. So at least we got a microphone, even if no cameras. If Maharaj says no cameras, there are no cameras. So anyway, the one thing...
I didn't bring a camera.
Oh, you did not bring a camera. But really, a happy evening. So many devotees, everyone's come together, and it is really very happy. And from Bangkok also, we've got our VIP guests coming up there from Bangkok too. And so we've got a beautiful family gathering. And just one thing, just before I read, on the theme of, like a happy family gathering, every year with Gurudev, principally I've been with Gurudev year by year during this time of Ratha-yatra, in Navadip, in Calcutta, in the old, we could say the old veranda, but the veranda where most of his pastimes took place in Dum Dum Park. Also the new veranda, he was there during Ratha-yatra time too. And in Jagannath Puri, we've been different times with Gurudev in Puri. And I just want to say that as a family feel of what is the Ratha-yatra time and the Gundicha Marjanam, yesterday's coming together for cleaning the temple all over the world, including here that we saw, was very much like a very happy mood. Gurudev is very happy, the devotees enlivened. It was a happy time. And Gurudev always remembering Guru Maharaj at this time too. And my feeling is, and he said it sometimes, but when he joined the mat, he came at Nrsimha Chaturdasi, which was just a few months ago.
Yes.
And then he went with a group of devotees, I don't think very big, I never heard the number, but he went with Guru Maharaj. In other words, Guru Maharaj took him to Jagannath Puri for this Jagannath Ratha-yatra time and some pilgrimage there. And it was in Jagannath Puri where he received his Harinam Dikha, his Harinam initiation was in Jagannath.
In 1947.
In 1947, yes. He had joined, he came at Nrsimha Chaturdasi,
Chaturdasi, and then
he received initiation in Puri, and Gurudev always happy in Puri and always happy remembering Puri. And the whole thing, the Gundicha Marjanam, how we clean the temple, and cleaning the temple is cleaning the heart, all these things. And Gurudev always so happy when devotees come to participate in this. And I was thinking this yesterday, when so many devotees pulled the kitchen apart, and I took everything out and did so many things, not only in the kitchen, but in different departments. And I was thinking how happy Gurudev will be. And it's almost like a preparation for today, this day of the Jagannath Ratha-yatra. Well, it is a preparation in Puri, of course, making the altar clean and ready for the Lord to sit, and with the same idea that making the heart clean and ready for the Lord to sit in the heart. Then the Ratha-yatra day coming, and this year, all the way up until last night, all the news I got was that the Ratha-yatra this year, it's going to be taking place on the subtle plane and not on the actual plane. And so when this morning, we just check to see what's happening kind of thing, and find out very happily that Jagannath has played a trick, and he has decided, yes, it is the virus time, so we can't have a big gathering, so Jagannath has let it be known it's not going to take place. And then suddenly this morning, with some official decree, then they were given the permission that with just the pandas and the temple priests, etc., and the police only, no other public to come inside, then they will do the
and it's still a few thousand.
Still quite a lot of people when we saw.
You know, who they are.
But as Maharaj mentioned this morning, today, about how this morning and each time of the Ratha-yatra, the king comes and sweeps the road. Well, interestingly, this afternoon we were doing a broadcast with Italy. And in Italy, they are watching live the king sweeping the road. I was also watching live the king sweeping the road. And I said, well, by this technology, we were all there together watching the Ratha-yatra.
Maybe millions watching online.
Maybe really a million watching online. It is quite possible. And so anyhow, with some extra kind of feeling of joy this year that the Ratha-yatra took place. And I can say it looked happy because there wasn't all that kind of chaos in front. And it just somehow, it looked like Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra were happy from our point of view coming. But anyway, from our family point of view, then these days, they are very sweet days. And so when Maharaj said, we're going to have a happy family gathering tomorrow evening, please come and sit with me. Then I say, yes, of course, happily. Very befitting Gurudev's mood. And those who've been with Gurudev in Puri, at Ratha-yatra time or any time, they're very special days, because Gurudev truly was almost like a boy in Puri. He was kind of very, very boyish in Puri. And probably because before that he's been in Puri with Guru Maharaj, and he's feeling that Guru Maharaj, like guardianship, etc. Anyway, just a few little words there. And then, by Maharaj's request, a little bit of a jump from Guru Maharaj's own explanation of the pranam mantra of the mat. But
here's how I'm connecting them. So he's saying the flag, is to celebrate really the heart of Srimati Radharani. Jaya Sri means Radharani. So he's saying that's what Mahaprabhu came to do. That's what this mat is. It's what came from Mahaprabhu to Saraswati Thakur. He's not talking about Gyan, he's talking about heart. Right? So what was in the heart of Mahaprabhu? And that's from the heart of Radharani, and that's Tene Brahma Hridaya. He ends on that. It's a heart-to-heart transaction. So my point being is that the Ratha-yatra is a celebration of the heart of Srimati Radharani. Personally, by Sri Chaitanya-dev, Jagannath is defeated. It's all about her, really. And all these other things we may observe, but that's what Mahaprabhu, he's expressing her heart to Jagannath, the Dwaraka Krishna in this context. So really, they're connected. They're not two separate things. Because this is where this he's singing, Anyara Hridayaman Mora Vrindavan. Others' heart and mind are the same. My heart and Vrindavan are the same. So it's all consistent. That is my point. So to segue from the mat to this, it's well
yes,
and good.
more beautiful, and that's my segue to get me into the mood of it. And Maharaj asked me to continue reading from where we were reading this morning, and in this in the morning program today.
Yeah.
Then, as we do, we read, and we read up to when Mahaprabhu already Jagannath had come out, the deities have come out, the cart is running, or the carts are running, and Mahaprabhu had arranged 7 kirtan parties with 2 drummers in each party, and the singers, the dancers, and beside, in front, behind, in all 4 directions they are chanting. And just as we heard about the flag flying up into the sky and outer space, then also the sound of the mridangas and the kirtan going through to outer space. So they are on their way, and then where we are starting, if we're following, anyone wants to follow, it is Madhya-lila Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita, chapter 13, and we're starting at text, well actually 51, just to get us into the mood, into the context of where we are. So this is what's happening. The 7 kirtan groups are going down, the carts are coming, grand chanting, kirtan, everything. So then we're starting here. So Jai Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita ki Jai, Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So, translation. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all 7 groups, chanting the holy name, Hari, Hari. Raising his arms, he shouted, all glories to Lord Jagannath. And we'll have it in Bengali, because he didn't actually say, all glories to Lord Jagannath. He said, Jaya Jagannath, of course. So Shata Thani Bulle Prabhu Hari Hari Boli Jaya Jagannath Bolena Hasta Yuga Tuli, with his arms up and calling out. Okay, next verse. So verse 52. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. And in Bengali, Ara Eka Shakti Prabhu Korila Prakash, Eka Kale Shata Tani Korila Bilas.
Maharaj, one thing. We're not going to get there if we read the Bengali.
But the Bengali is so sweet.
I know, but we'll. So read the English.
Yeah.
And then if it's like a special one, I will indicate that, and that Bengali will be read.
I can read the Bengali with the actions, then everybody will know what to say.
Yeah.
Because the next verse, Sobe Kohe. Prabhu, okay, I'll follow Maharaj's direction. Everyone said, Shobe Kohe. Okay. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon us. Next verse. So now Krishnadas Kaviraj speaking, narrating. Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. No one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure, unalloyed devotional service, could understand.
So the important words, Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potency, known to whom? Antaranga Bhakta, who have Shuddha Bhakti. Okay, next.
Antaranga Bhakta Jane Jara Shuddha Bhakti. Then we've got it. Then the next verse. Kirtana Dekya Jagannatha Harashita. Sankirtana Deke Rata Korya Stagita, sorry. I put my specs on, then I get it right.
Remember, Mars, we're reading the English to try and get toward the... Let me read a little bit. Lord Jagannath was very much pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance.
That's what I read.
King Prataparudra was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became stunned and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, "O king, your fortune has no limit." The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one else could see the tricks of Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods headed by Lord Brahma cannot understand. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street, and for this humility the king received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Mahaprabhu's activities. Wait, I went to see... Okay. All right. Yes, you can continue.
In which, so there's now text 61. Although the king was refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Then, when the two great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Vishmaya, astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord's need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes, but his internal potency, Leela Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements.
And here I'd like to say something.
Yes, Maharaj.
So it says, Leela Veshe Prabhurnahi Nijanu Sandan. So Guru Maharaj would say, Nijanu Sandan means he's searching for himself. Like Krishnanu Sandan. Here it says forgetting, or that Guru Maharaj would not, he would say this way, that what he's doing is he's searching himself. The supreme, positive, it's okay. I met them earlier. There was a group of them this morning. Yeah, and they, like, I don't know, they just turn over on their backs and you need to turn them back over again. But so, that's what he's saying. So in the supreme positive, in the mood of the supreme negative, what's, Nijanu Sandan, he's searching for himself. Okay. Big purport. Then I'm going to say, we'll go back and forth.
Maharaj,
just as Lord Sri Krishna formally, this is good, performed the rasa-lila and other pastimes in Vrindavan, Mahaprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. So sometimes Guru Maharaj would say, Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan is the rasa-lila in distribution mode. Because remember, many of these assembled here also in the parallel pastime. And so here is Shastric support for this statement of Guru Maharaj saying, just as he formally, because it says, Purve Joyche Rasadi Lila Koila Vrindavane, as he did that, then it's saying, he's doing this again here, but in this marvelous new way. Yes. And Mahaprabhu's dancing before the Ratha-yatra car could be perceived only by pure devotees. Others could not understand. Description of the Lord's uncommon dancing can be found in the revealed scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, again, that's, what is, 1 minute he's talking about Mahaprabhu, saying they, and then it's saying descriptions of Krishna's uncommon dancing. What is that uncommon dance?
Rasa dance.
The rasa-lila.
Yes.
So this is very interesting. And this way Mahaprabhu danced in great jubilee. So it's as if they're doing this Gaur Lila version of that in front of everyone. And you can only really see, if you have the eyes to see, you can see, as it's said before, or just coming about Mahaprabhu appearing in 7 groups, and with each person seeing them, and sometimes just by himself, but not everyone can see it. And in this way, Mahaprabhu danced, and premera tarange, like waves of Krishna prem. Thus, Jagannath mounted his car, and Mahaprabhu inspired all his devotees to dance in front of it. Now hear about Jagannath's going to Gundicha Gaman, while Mahaprabhu danced before the Ratha-yatra car. The Lord performed kirtan for some time through his own endeavor, inspired all the devotees to dance. When the Lord wanted to dance, all 7 groups came together. The Lord's devotees, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govindananda, Madhava, and Govinda, all combined together. When Mahaprabhu desired to dance high, there's the word udanda nritye. That means jump up. He placed these 9 people in the charge of Swarup Damodar. These devotees, Swarup Damodar and those in his charge, sang along with the Lord, and they also ran beside him. All other groups of men also sang. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded palms, Mahaprabhu raised his face toward Jagannath and prayed, Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandano Shao Jayati Jayati Krishna Vrishni Vangsha Pradeepa Jayati Jayati Mega Shamala Kamalango Jayati Jayati Pritvi Varanashao Mukunda. Then Jayati Janani Vaso Devaki Janmavado, from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yarubara Purishat Svardo Bira Syana Dharmam Stirachara Vijanagana Shushmita Srimukena Brajapura Banitanam Bardayam Kamadevam. And those verses, let me offer my obeisance to Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahmins, who is the well-wisher of cows and Brahmanas, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Govinda, and from Mukunda-mala. All glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the light of the dynasty of Vrishni, and whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, whose body is as soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, and who can liberate everyone. Then Krishna, who is known as Jana, and just pay specific attention to how this verse ends. From the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, Prayers of the Personified Vedas. Krishna is known as Jananivas, the ultimate resort of all living beings, or refuge, who is also known as Devaki Nandan, or Yashoda Nandan, the son of Devaki and Yashoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities moving in earth. And here's the last, like this big, like that, and then the last line says, his blissful smiling face always increases the lusty desires of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy.
Harivo.
Maharaj, continue.
Or the next verse is, Nahang vipro na cha narapati napi vaishyo na shudro Nahang varni na cha grihapati noha vanashto yativa kintu prodyan nikila paramananda punamrita dher gopi batu pada kamalayo dasa dasa anudasha. And I think most of you here know the meaning of that, even if, like me, you wouldn't be able to say it off by heart. I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmacharya, a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance.
Hare Krishna.
And now Krishnadas Kaviraj is narrating, saying, having recited all these verses from the scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now Udanda Nritya, which we've learned something today. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, that dancing, roaring like thunder and moving in a circle like a wheel, he appeared like a circling firebrand. There. Then, wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stepped while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to tilt. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various blissful transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned, sometimes the hairs of his body stood on end, sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed color, and sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. And some of you know some of these too. Stamba, Sveda, Pulaka, Ashru, Kampa, Vaivanya, Nanabhava, Vivashatta, Garva, Harsha, Danya. It does come again and again in various combinations. Next verse. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground. At such times, it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Now, Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaita Acharya would walk behind the Lord and loudly chant, Hari Bol, again and again. Just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord, they formed 3 circles. The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram himself, the possessor of great strength. Then Kashishvara, Govinda, Dijatta Bhaktagana. All the devotees headed by Kashishvara and Govinda linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lord. Then Bahire Prataparudra Loya Patragana. Maharaj Prataparudra and his personal assistants formed a third circle around the 2 inner circles just to check the crowd from coming too near. With his hands on the shoulders of Hari Chandana, King Prataparudra could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. So he was in that third circle. So he's got his hands on someone and he can see, oh, look, Mahaprabhu is dancing. While the king beheld the dancing, Srivas Thakur, standing in front of him, became ecstatic as he saw the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing Srivas Thakur standing before the king, Hari Chandana, who Prataparudra had his hands on, touched Srivas with his hand and requested him to step aside. Absorbed in watching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance, Srivas Thakur could not understand why he was being touched and pushed. After he was pushed again and again, he became angry.
Angry man.
Angry man. Srivas, you're a descendant
because you're
of
the representative of a particular individual.
Srivas Thakur slapped Hari Chandana. So Srivas Thakur, who is being pushed, why am I being pushed? Slapped Hari Chandana to stop him from pushing him. In turn, this made Hari Chandana angry.
Sound like
then,
devotees?
Krud, now krud hoya tare, kichu chahe balibare, apni prataparudra nivai rila tare. As the angered Hari Chandana was about to speak to Srivas Thakur, maybe not very politely. Prataparudra Maharaj personally stopped him. Then King Prataparudra said, "You are very fortunate, for you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur." He's saying this because he's, anyway, you know. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him. This is King Prataparudra in his great humility. Next, this is telling. Everyone was astonished by the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. Jagannath became happy to see Mahaprabhu dancing. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile, while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram both felt great happiness and ecstasy within their hearts. Indeed, they were seen smiling at the dancing. Maharaj, we've got to read the Bengali of this. Subhadra Balaramera Hridoya Ullasa Nritya Deki Dui Janera Shri Mokate Hasa. Big smile, very happy. Then now look again. Udanda Nritya Prabhura Adbhuta Vikara. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All these symptoms were visible simultaneously.
So here it says Asta Sattvika Bhav, or what is known as Asta Sattvika Vikar.
Yeah, Ashta Sattvika Bhav, Uddaya Hoya Samakala, same time, at the same time. Maharaj, the skin erupted with goose pimples and the hairs of his body stood on end. His body resembled the shimuli, silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns.
And that's what I want to say. So sometimes to show that the ecstasy goes in different directions. So, and just as we see, sometimes the dancing, frenetic, wild dancing, very sweet, or going up and down. So sometimes, like in the verse I had to quote, Nindandam Pulakot Korean Nipasam Vikasam Nipa Prasuna, saying, so imagine, we say his Gauranga, his golden, and when his hair stand on end, it says it looks like the Kadamba flower. And I remember outside in Dum Dum Park, there's a tree there, but it's only for like a week you get to see them. And Gopal and I went out with some Bengali boys and like we all like collected them. They look like balls with these golden saffrony little hairs, but that are stiff, but they look like they're electric, almost like they're giving off this saffron golden light, right? So it's saying that's what Mahaprabhu's divine form would look like at times. Saying, but remember, we saw sometimes it's changing. He's Gauranga and then it's like white, all color gone. The ecstasy's gone in a particular direction. And then what happened, the hair described as, they look like golden thorns. Now they're not soft and that kadamba looking. Now it's gone in another direction. It looks like his body is covered in golden thorns, but looking very beautiful, but like shocking. Right? Let me read a little. And this, indeed, the people became afraid just to hear his teeth chatter. They thought that all of his teeth would fall out. How intense. I mean, these things are not pretty in the conventional, but they're revealing a certain level of intensity that's just like shocking. And then Mahaprabhu's whole body flowed with perspiration and at the same time oozed blood. He made the sounds, like his voice he's trying to say Jagannath. His heart is so deep and divine. He wants to just say Jagannath, and he's saying Ja, Ja, Ga, Ga, Ja, Ja, He can't say the words Jagannath. Tears came forcefully from his eyes as if from a syringe, and all the surrounding people became wet. Everyone saw his complexion change from white to pink, so that his luster resembled that of a malika flower. If you ever want to know where I got the name from. Hare Krishna. Sometimes he appeared stunned, and sometimes he rolled on the ground. Indeed, sometimes his legs and hands became as hard as dry wood, and he did not move. I mean, this is, Guru Maharaj would tell me, these things are not described anywhere, anything like this. What to speak of in the world, like even with India, there are no parallel descriptions and another line, there's nothing like this anywhere. It's only in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the Lord fell to the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives became very feeble. Water flowed from his eyes and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. And these flowings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon.
Hare Krishna.
And then this devotee Subhananda, who's described as a Krishna Prem Rasik, right? Here's the test, the qualification. The foam fell from the mouth and was drunk by Subhananda because he was very fortunate and a Krishna Prema Rasik devotee. Right? Then now Tandava Nritya, the Shiva-like devastating dancing. After Mahaprabhu performed his devastating dance for some time, his mind entered a mood of ecstatic love. After abandoning that type of dancing, he ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows: Seta Parananata Painu, Jahalagi, Madanadahane, Juri Genu. And again, these are all Radharani expressions. Right? And he's saying, now I've gained the Lord of my life, my Parananath, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and withering away. Right? And what does it say in the purport? This song refers to Srimati Radharani's meeting with Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Lord Sri Krishna and his brother and sister came to visit when there was a solar eclipse. It is a song of separation from Krishna. When Radharani met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she remembered their intimate association in Vrindavan, and she thought, now I've gained the Lord of my life, in whose absence I was being burned by the arrow of Cupid and thus withering away. Now I've got my life back again. So just think about it. So Prabhupada, it's 1971, I'm 19, surrounded by other 19, 20-year-olds. You know, if someone was like 24, we thought they were like old. You know, like, you know, one guy's like a man, really? Yeah, he's in the back. You know, like, so Prabhupada, with basically this group of teenagers or young people celebrating the Ratha-yatra, this is all in there. It's all can be unpacked from these pastimes. Requires some faithful hearing and study, but he knows if you just, you know, you touch the rope, you get involved, you help make the chariot, you prepare the prasad, on some level you touch this. It has this magical, transformative power to infuse you with a particular devotional spirit. And it's all going towards here. Right? Then, when this refrain was sung loudly, now the Madhura Nritya is mentioned, Mahaprabhu began to sweetly dance in transcendental bliss. And the car of Jagannath began to move slowly while the son of Mother Sachi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of the Lord kept their eyes on him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers. his eyes and mind fully absorbed. You know, it says Nayana Hridoy. That's heart, that's like heart, eyes, eyes, heart. Some of these things, they don't go into English well. He began to play the drama of the song. So now he's not doing the frenetic dancing. Now he's going very sweetly. And what's being sung by Swarup Damodar, he's like the way when we watch those dancers, the Bharatanatyam and other dancers, they're playing with their arms and a story, the story of a song by gesture and dancing. So Swarup Damodar singing, and that's what Mahaprabhu is doing. How beautiful is that? When Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting the song, he would sometimes fall behind in the procession, and at such times Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill. When Mahaprabhu again went forward, Jagannath's cart would start slowly again. Thus there was a sort of competition between Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Mahaprabhu was so strong, he made Jagannath wait in his car. Remember, that's Radharani's Bama Bhav. When Mahaprabhu was dancing, his ecstasy changed. He, raising his two arms, he began to recite the following verse in a loud voice. Yat Kumara Hara Sa Eva Hi Barastha Eva Chaitra Kapas Te Chon Milita Malati Surabaya Prodha Kadam Banila Sat Chev Asmi Tatapi Tatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vidho Revo Rodasi Vetasi Turutale Cheta Samut Kantate. From the Padyavali of Rupa Goswami. That personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights in the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes and blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. It says this verse was recited by Mahaprabhu again and again, but for Swarup Damodar, no one can understand its meaning. And then, so Guru Maharaj said, it's actually like, to put it in modern context, like a mundane love song. And so just think, when, like Gurudev said, the simple-hearted devotees, so they're at the Ratha singing all these kirtans, and then it appears as though Prabhu is now singing this mundane love song. He's before Jagannath and he starts singing this. This is not a devotional song. And so for them they're saying, Prabhu, he's Mahaprabhu, you know, there are others, like saying, Swarup Damodar knows really what this song is about. And as will be revealed here, Rupa Goswami made it clear what it's about. So it says, formally, he said, I already explained this verse, but now I'm going to describe it in brief. When all the gopis formerly in Vrindavan were pleased, very pleased when they met Krishna in the holy place of Kurukshetra, similarly, after seeing Jagannath, Mahaprabhu awoke with the ecstasy of the devotees, gopis. Being absorbed in this ecstasy, he asked Swarup Damodar to sing the refrain. Mahaprabhu spoke thus to Jagannath, you're the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way we met in the beginning of our lives, like when they were teenagers. Saying, although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan. So Guru Maharaj will say, Vrindavan is inseparable from Radha and Krishna. It says it's a part of them. We heard Radharani is saying Vrindavan is a construct of her heart. So she can't have the same joy and heart satisfaction in any other place, and with Krishna in any other capacity. And Guru Maharaj will remind us also, where we say Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, of them all, right, is at the right hand of Radharani, that Krishna. So Krishna is only fully himself reveals his full sweetness and attractiveness and the full extent of his beauty and loving capacity at her side. Right. So, and although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavanam. I wish that you will please again appear with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. In Kurukshetra, there are crowds of people. See, Lokaranya, elephants, horses, rattling of chariots. But in Vrindavan, there's Pushparanya, gardens, and the humming of bees, and the chirping of birds can be heard. And here in Kurukshetra, you're dressed in the Rajvesh of a king, and with all these Kshatriyas. Remember, gopis are Vaishyas. But in Vrindavan, you are just in your Gopa-vesh, dressed like a cowherd boy, and who's keeping you company? Murali Vada. You have your flute to your mouth. That we like. Here, there's not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. Guru Maharaj said once, he said that, so at this time, and after they express all these things, then the queens of Dwaraka, again, they asked, they said, we've heard so much about the rasa-lila. Could you perform a rasa-lila here for us? And Radharani agrees. And they, with the braja-gopis, they have a rasa-lila. And everyone is astonished, and the queens are offering so much praise. We've never seen anything so beautiful. And Guru said, Radharani says, you should see the original. Like when it's in Vrindavan on the, this is something. As Gurudev, something is better than nothing. Hare Krishna. There, I request you come to Vrindavan and enjoy pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will be fulfilled. I've already described in brief Radharani's statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. In that ecstatic mood, Mahaprabhu recited many other verses, but people in general could not understand their meaning. The meaning of those verses was known to Swarup Damodar Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Srila Rupa Goswami broadcast the meaning. While dancing, Mahaprabhu began to recite, and I mentioned this earlier, and maybe, shall we continue, or
I think probably tomorrow.
Yes, okay. But I just want to conclude with this one.
Yes. And one more.
Anyara Hridayaman, Moraman Brind, because I mentioned it 3 times already. Moraman, and Guru Maharaj, Gurudev and Guru Maharaj can sing this entire section that we're reading. And they would. Sometimes just start doing it, the whole thing. And then play, and then the gopis say this, then Krishna says that, then they say this, but this one. Anyara Hridayaman, Moraman Brindavan, Mane Bane Ekkori Jani, Tahan Tomar Paradvai, Koroha Jadi Udoy, Tabe Tomar Puna Kripamani. Radharani saying, for most people their mind and heart are one, but my mind and Vrindavan are one. And since you like Vrindavan, and my heart and mind are Vrindavan, will you please place your lotus feet there? That would be your full mercy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, wonderful things.
Jai Sri Jagannath Ratha-yatra ki jai.
Jai.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Hare Srimati Radharani ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Huh? Oh. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan.
Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra.
Radha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Radha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath.
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Dasa Raghunath.
Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran. Jai Gosai Jar Mui Tarodan.
Jai Gosai Jamuni Tarodan.
Panchavara Padarinu Mora Panchagram. Kandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevan.
Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevan.
Janame Janame More Avilan. Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilovan.
Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilovan.
Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korilo Prasad.
Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korilo Prasad.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriya.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriya.
Hari Nam Sankirtan Kohe Naratamodai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jai Jagannath Ratha-yatra ki
Jai.
Jai, Jagannath Swami ki Jai,
Jai.
Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Astateros of the Sri Srimati Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai, Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiu ki Jai, Sri Giriraj Govardhan ki Jai, Jagannath Swami ki Jai, Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai, Sri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Diva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Go Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Govinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Purushotam Chetra ki jai, Sri Gupta Govardhan ki jai, Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Om Vishnupad, Vishvavarenya, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Brinda ki jai, Jai Srila Bhakti Bhimalavadut Maharaj ki jai, Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai, Jai Sriman Paramananda Prabhu ki jai, Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi ki jai, Sri Krishna Priya Didi ki jai, Seva Vrinda ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jagannath Ratha-yatra ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai, Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaja ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande.